Black Conservatives for Truth panel discussion. My name is Karen Walker. I have with me George Middleton, Howard Nelson Cromwell, and Adrian Houston. My name is Karen Walker. Thank you for joining me, everyone. Today, I want to discuss a topic that happened yesterday with President Trump. He sent out a tweet yesterday morning saying that effective immediately, I think he said immediately, after consultation with his advisors, that transgenders would no longer be allowed in the military in any capacity. So I want to discuss, what did you think about the tweet? Did you think it was what about the timing? Do you agree with his statement? And I want to start with you, Howard. You are part of the LGBTQ community, correct?
I am, yes.
Right. And so I am interested in hearing exactly, specifically what you have to say.
Okay, so let me just kind of back up. Before I'm a part of the LGBT community, I'm American. I'm a Black conservative who is a member of the LGBT community. So before I'm an LGBT person, I'm a patriot. I'm a veteran, and so I actually 100% agree with Donald Trump. I believe that if you were in the military or are currently serving, then we have something called a military bearing, which is pretty much, which means that there's a way that military people do things. There's a code of there's a type of code that we in the military go by. And so while I'm not saying that transgenders could never be part of the military, I just think that there is a time. I don't think the time is now. So and also, I think that I know that he cited, the taxpayer, as far as your taxpayer spending their money, as far as the healthcare is involved. But I think it goes far beyond that. I think it's a military culture. And so I tend to agree that I don't think the transgenders should be serving in the military. But yes, on top of that, I think there's also added costs that the taxpayer must endure to treat transgendered individuals.
So you don't feel that it's discriminatory? You don't see it as?
I don't. Let me just say why I don't. I know that the liberals are trying to kind of mesh us into saying, well, this happened when blacks weren't allowed in the military, when women weren't allowed in the military, when gays weren't allowed in the military. And I think it's two different things. I think that I don't think that there is an additional cost for blacks, gays, and women serving in the military. But I think there's a there's a reason why women are not in combat situations. I think there's a reason why transgenders should not be serving in the military. I think that's more of an equal playing field, because you need to be able to not only do the job, but you have to be there to do the job. And I think if you are, going through, counseling, if you have to go through surgery, if you're taking hormone treatments, those kind of things take away from the mission of the military. And, you don't go into the military to, to transition. It's not the way that's not what the military is for. We're not here to pay for your transgendered surgery, your transitioning surgery. And so I think that if we open the floodgates and say that, okay, transgenders are accepted, let's go, everybody come into the military, I think that we will get slapped with a very, we'll end up paying for this. The taxpayers will end up paying for this. I mean, sometimes it can get up to some $50,000 to $100,000 to sometimes $1 million, depending on what you have done. And so, I just don't think that we need to bear that brunt.
I got you.
For an elective surgery or surgery.
Okay. What do you think, George?
Okay, so being a therapist, I'm always about process more than outcome. Generally, rule of thumb is with anything you get into, if the process is correct, 9 times out of 10, you're going to appreciate a more effective outcome. And if you don't have that effective outcome, because you had a structured process, you can always go back and adjust where you think it went wrong or tweak it. So in this area of transgender, there's a lot of layers in this. There's moral components, there's homophobic components, there's divisive components, then there's political components. And so you got all that. So when you go into something like this, talking about a topic of transgender in the military, there are logistical reasons, pros and cons, and then there's emotional reasons, pros and cons. So my question to you all would be this: how would you describe the way number 45 presented this issue? Did he present it from a logistical perspective, or did he present it from an emotional perspective?
I think, I'm sorry, go ahead, Karen.
No, go ahead and say what you're going to say.
I think for me, I think the way that he posed it, I think it was clearly from a, an operational standpoint. It wasn't, he didn't say, oh, I hate transgenders, I don't think they should serve. He said, after consultation with my generals, this is what I feel. This is the outcome. And just to piggyback, I absolutely agree with you that George, that the process needs to be done correctly. And so I don't think the process is there now. Having served in the military, having been a medical specialist in the military, and my specialty was internal medicine and primary care, I know what we can handle as far as field medical units. I know for a fact that not unless something has changed in the last 20, 30 years, that we can handle transgender healthcare in the field. That's just it's not going to happen. I mean, we're in the field, we're kind of putting a Band-Aid on them and sending them out, or
so
Howard, back to the States.
Howard, if I could kind of go back to your initial answer, you're saying that you felt like because Trump didn't go through all of the histrionics in presenting it, that you felt it was from a logistical standpoint, and it's already been. It's been already been quoted on the news today, and the generals have come out and said that Trump did this without any conversation on their part. So that means he did not utilize the military. He did not consult the military heads before he, quote unquote, tweeted such a strongly emotionally divisive issue. So I would kind of want to challenge you for a minute on that respectfully, and really ask you, was that a logistical approach, and especially in the context of all the other things that's going on that he's dealing with right now, from Scaramucci, or however you pronounce his name, to Sessions, to the mounting, impending investigation with the Russia piece. Are you sure in his mind, in his approach, from a presidential standpoint, when you look at how impactful this is across the country, that he really didn't do this out of some emotional point?
I honestly don't think that he did. I mean, I could be wrong. I know that he is not the most, presidential of presidents, but I mean, I think that if would he stand, because it seems to me that he says he said after consultation with generals. I don't know who these generals were. If you're telling me that the Joint Chiefs or whoever he's saying that he had consultation with, they're saying that he had absolutely no communication with them before he tweeted out.
Well, he's not. They're not. I don't mean to interrupt you. They're not saying. This is from what I understand that happened. Okay, and remind me, because I'm going to forget. You said something about an elective surgery. I want to ask you a question about that. Also, Adrienne, she dropped off, and she's actually for transgender serving in the military. So I wanted to kind of moderate, but since she's dropped off, I'm going to play a devil's advocate from the standpoint of someone who does support it. But back to both of your questions, especially yours, George. I think he did that. He made this decision from an emotional viewpoint. From what
really?
Right. And let me tell you why. He wanted to appease Christian conservatives. From what I understand, from what I read, a couple of weeks ago, House Republicans, I cannot think of her name. There was a House Republican, a woman.
Yeah, I think Vicky Hartzler or something. Yeah.
Correct, Vicky. Oh, did we just lose another person too? Now we lost George also. Well, we just keep talking. But he'll come back. But anyway, Vicky, she introduced a piece of legislation that would ban the Department of Defense for funding surgeries and any related medical costs for transgenders. She wanted to ban that. 23 House Republicans, probably moderates, joined the Democrats and they voted against the ban. So it was shot down. Mm-hmm. The conservatives then, hold on. George just came back and let me make him live again. Can you see me, George? You should be able to see us. Well, anyway, I'll keep talking. I'll just keep a watch on him. But then the House conservatives, they then went to John Mattis to talk about banning surgeries and medical situations costs. He said he wanted to study the issue for 6 months. That was too long for them. So they then went to the president, okay? There is currently a budget on the table to fund the wall and to fund a lot of the pieces of legislation that Trump wants passed that he said he would do in the campaign. And it was kind of like on Lifeline. So in order to get it passed, he went ahead and sided with the Republicans. I personally think the reason why he made the tweet yesterday is because a lot of conservative Republicans are starting to turn towards support for Jeff Sessions. And to kind of quell the uprising and to change the narrative, he tweeted that to appease the conservatives. I'm not saying that he wasn't going to do it anyway, but I believe at that time he did it at that moment to appease them, because right after he tweeted that, he also said, in this country, we don't worship government, we worship God. That is not something that the president kind of tweets. And I think that was a nod to conservatives. So that's why I said it was emotional. The Joint Chief of Staff did not know. Many of his advisors, they had no idea it was coming. Therefore, there was no method to implement what he was saying. So, but that's why I said that.
And I think, not only, okay, let me kind of back up. So I will respectfully disagree. I don't think that that the president did this on some kind of emotional, on any kind of emotional level, actually. I think that he believes in what he's saying. I also think that is that he did talk to someone. I don't think that, I don't know who these generals are that he consulted with. But I do believe he spoke with someone. I don't know that these generals are now, they may be coming out saying, well, no, we didn't tell him that, we didn't say that. But I definitely believe that he consulted with someone in the military brass. So that, and then I think it's also really important to understand that just because Trump tweeted this, doesn't mean it's going to go into effect. His tweets are not law. So of course there's going to be, and I think what's end up going to happen is this is going to go through, if he tries to actually move through with this, even though I think it's a step in the right place, but that's a whole lot of layers that need to follow these tweets in order for it to become law, and transgenders are somehow excommunicated or banned from the military. I think what's ultimately going to happen, and this is probably what if it was down to me, this would be my fine lining, that transgenders can serve, because there are transgenders serving now. My thing is this: they cannot transition while in the military. This is my issue. It's kind of like when the ban.
Do you guys hear me?
Yeah, we hear you.
Yes.
Okay, Howard. Before you go to the next piece,
yes.
Again, I really want to drill down on your perspective there, because it's to me it sounds like you want to just kind of gloss over the approach and get right into the logistics. And I think you have a valid perspective. Obviously, you've been experienced. You understand the community. You understand the military life, and so I don't think anyone is going to be able to contest you regarding the knowledge and logistical pieces that go into this, pros or cons. Okay. My concern is that, especially from the mantra of Black conservatives for truth, that process is more important than what you already know. And if we don't really take the time, in your mind, you may have it set. Yep, this is what it is. It may be that, but we have to deal with more than just our own internal perspective. If we're trying to move masses in a collective direction, we got to take the extra time just to stop for a minute and look from the other person's point of view and make sure that they're kind of seeing it in a way, because if they're not, then it's our goal or our role to find a way to cross that gap of misunderstanding. So to go back one more time with the approach, I would say from an objective standpoint that for the president to be more effective in what he's trying to do, he flubbed his first step.
Okay, so this is I see what you're saying. I misunderstood your question. Gotcha. Okay, so you're talking, when you say process, you're just talking about how he delivered this piece of information to the masses.
Right. At 2 o'clock.
Oh yes. No.
At 2 o'clock.
I absolutely, hands down, I agree with you 100%. Hands down. I misunderstood what you were saying. Yes, hands down. Yes, I don't think that the president should be tweeting. Period. At least not policy issues. So yes, the process is flawed from get-go. Absolutely agree with that. You will not find an argument.
So if you think about that, just imagine if you're holding the highest office in the land and you're going to tweet something that is life-changing for anybody who has the aspirations to be that, and for current members that are there right now wondering what is going to happen to me, to be so glib or perceptively glib as a tweet it's scary, it's insulting, it's earth-shattering for those members that it impacts the most,
especially the ones that are already there.
Right.
The chairman of the Joint Chief of Staff, I cannot remember his name. His name escapes me, but he put out a message today that says everything stays as it is until we get a clear directive and a means to implement this from the president. So basically, he was saying a tweet is not law.
Exactly.
I think, and that's another reason why I said that I say that what Trump did was more out of emotion. I think it was, I'm not saying that I'm not saying that he did not plan on doing this, but I think it was more to appease the conservatives in the House, because he wants to make sure that his budget is passed so that the wall is built and all of these other things. So I completely understand, but I think he went, first of all, he went too far, because this is the interesting thing. They're now saying, oh, wait, don't put this on us. This is House Republicans. We only ask that the president
they stop paying for surgery, the health
in medical, but we didn't say that we wanted them out altogether. He went a step further. That was all on him. But when he did that, what that did was it added to confusion, because you have members of the transgender community that are currently serving. So when he said they could effective immediately, they cannot serve in any capacity, does that mean that they must immediately pack up their bags and leave? Let me
go back. Let me just go back to yourself and George's point. We can guess what his intentions were. That was definitely my argument. I can care less what his intentions are when he sent it, when he tweeted this. my response, I guess, my approval was of his statement as far as, not necessarily his delivery. So I understand what you're saying, George. I do get that. So delivery is always wrong, but his delivery is most of the time wrong.
Wrong. Is that what you're saying?
But it doesn't mean that that the reason behind it is wrong. So I do think that if we're talking about healthcare costs and military healthcare, healthcare costs in the military, I do think that transgender individuals, it's a high cost surgery. It's a high cost to treat. It's a high cost treatment. All of these things that I don't think the taxpayers need to pay for. And so yes, I will agree that maybe his delivery was wrong. But serving in the military and knowing what military bearing is, I don't think that we should be. This should not even be on the table at this moment. Not until maybe there's at least several years down the road where there's actually something to back up. Something. We have some hard data saying that these people do not necessarily they don't affect the military. The military's mission, the fact that there's not raising, they're not, their healthcare is not that much more expensive than any other, other, you know what I mean? So I think it needs to be some hard data. Until that happens, and I don't think that we can just say, let's open the floodgates and, let every transgender in to go get surgery or whatever the reason for coming in is.
Right. I mean, I get what you're saying. And what you're saying is kind of valid. Danny, welcome to the program. Danny just signed in because Adrian, she dropped off, and Danny, he actually supports transgenders serving in the military. But Howard, I just want to say to you, I think that your point of view is interesting because you are a member of the LGBT community and you are conservative. So automatically, people are going to think because you are a member of the community that you would support it. And you're not worried about, per se, how Donald Trump, how he made the statement. I mean, I know you agree that it could have been handled differently, but you're saying that you feel that it is best for the military. What I say is, they did a RAND study in 2016, I think it was, that said, the military, for all medical costs annually for transgenders in the military, they spend between $2.4 to $8.4 million out of a $49 billion budget. So that's a negligible amount. So I don't think. But then let me just say something. Go ahead. Let me just say one more thing to you too, because you said something that I truly believe you're going to trigger some people, because you call transgender surgery an elective. Now, I hear what you're saying. I'm just saying when you said that, I kind of chuckled because for many transgenders, it's we didn't elect to do this. This is who we are. And I'm just playing devil's advocate. I'm not saying that I agree with this, but coming from you, it's different. It's
okay. So transgender surgery is elective. It is. And any transgender will tell you this. I mean, they may feel like they were born in the wrong body, but there's millions of people out there who feel like they were in the wrong body. And you know what? They're not all Caitlyn Jenners. They don't get to, they're not afforded that. It's not a right for them to get sexual reassignment surgery, get breast implants, to get, to match their outer body, and, with the way they feel. So that it is an elective surgery. And the thing is, there, like I said, there's people serving in the military now who is sitting on, who may or may not be on the front line, but they are in the body which they were born in. They're not transitioning. And I think when we start talking about that, that's the issue I'm having. I don't think there should be transition. I don't think there should be people transitioning or transgender transitioning while in the military. That's my big issue.
What if they've already transitioned? Do you think it's okay?
I'm okay with that. As long as they can do their job, as long as they're doing it effectively, and as long as they're not, I mean, as long as the
As
mission
long
of the
as you're
military.
not putting out medical costs and that's what you're saying. Okay, what do you say? And then I'm gonna get back with you, George. But Danny, what is your point?
Well, can you hear me?
I hear you.
Yes.
Okay. Well, I agree. It is an elective. There are some transgender people who don't want to have the surgery or don't want to get on hormones because, of the plumbing issue. They when you're on hormones.
Let's talk about it. This is real talk right here.
Well, I mean, when you get on hormones, your junk kind of shrivels up.
Okay.
So some like to keep their packages as they are.
Mm-hmm.
But as far as transgender in the military, yeah, why not? I mean, if they want to serve their country, well, why should we stop them? I don't really get the religious aspect of why they shouldn't.
Mm-hmm.
That doesn't really jive.
Well, I will speak to that as a Christian conservative why they would. But George, do you have anything to add to this?
Yes. This word elective, that's a loaded word. It implies choice, the choice to, or the choice
absolutely,
not, or the choice
absolutely.
Not. And so it's also a very subjective word, especially in this area. And subjectivity is what can make us or break us when we're trying to work toward a goal. So there was at one time, and I really would like Howard to speak to this, there was at one time, and I think even to a large extent now, where people just considered the concept of homosexuality as a choice, as an elective. So, and for most people who are members of that community, especially the friends that I know, my personal friends, that's offensive to them. For someone to assume that, oh, this was just, I just woke up one day and decided I want to be heterosexual.
Okay, no. You missed my
to be a person who, from a transgender standpoint, who that's a whole nother set of internal emotions that's driving whatever his or her behavior is that wants to lead to that. I think people may run the chance of being offensive even to that. Yes, they have to take a few extra steps, but this is an internal emotion that's driving them. So
right. So I'm not saying that being transgendered is elective. That's not what I'm saying. I'm saying the surgery is elective. So you can't really liken that into like saying, okay, well, being gay is elective. I don't think that anybody, of course, there's people saying that it's elective, but I think that certain, studies show that it's not a choice. You're born with this genetic. You're born being gay. So I don't think anybody in the right mind would argue about that. I think that people, and I also think that people who are born transgender, I think that people are born transgender. So I'm not arguing with that either. What I'm saying is that they can choose to have surgery or not. The surgery is elective. I don't care what they consider. I don't care what they consider themselves. What I'm saying is that as long as we don't have to pay for it in the military for taxpayers, I don't care what they do. I just don't want us to have to pay for the elective surgery is what I'm saying.
Well, and then too, you think about this. The military will deny you if you have pre-existing health conditions that will cause ongoing costs, because if you're on the battlefield, they may not be able to provide the kind of treatments that you need. For example, if you have asthma, you have certain type of diabetes, if you have certain type of illnesses or ailments or whatnot. If you're transgender, from what I understand, you have to constantly take hormone pills, and you have a lot of ongoing factors. So for people who are against transgenders serving in the military, that would be one. The other would be some people are not comfortable with transgenders when you're talking about living quarters. You're talking about bathroom quarters. For Christians, okay, even though you know, the military is not just, you know, it's for everyone, regardless to what your religion is. But there is a Christian component, a component that we do see as Christians. I will say that this nation, this country is going further and further and further anti-God. Not only Barack Obama, but previous presidents too. Some of the laws that they agree with, that they got passed, it's detrimental to Christians. And
would you say it's more? I'm sorry. I don't think it's anti-God. I just think it's kind of
it's anti-God.
non-God. The difference between non and anti.
Non is anti. Non is anti. But that's just my opinion. That's, you know, not to debate you, but
sure.
you think about it. You have where now we are made to share bathrooms, and even with the bathroom law, okay, it's not even if you are transgender. It's if you feel that you are a certain sex. So today I might feel like I'm a woman, but tomorrow, you know, I've gained a couple pounds, so I'm feeling kind of manly. So I think I'm gonna be a man. And you use that. We have issues with that. I mean,
that's kind of not how that works. Okay, so let me just say this, because that's kind of not how that works. I think that Karen, and I know that you don't mean it like that, but like so.
And I was joking when I said that. I really was.
Okay, because we have to clear this up, because you know people may think that, you know, just by my statements, when I'm saying that, you know, that I don't think that transgenders should serve in the military, that I'm anti-transgender. I am very
I know you're not,
and I'm not that, because I've gotten posts saying, oh, you know, how are you part of the LGBT community and you're discriminated against transgender. That's not what I'm doing. I'm just simply saying I think there's a mission for the military, and we have to understand this.
You're saying you don't think it's the taxpayers' duty to pay. Right. And so we know that I put it out there. I know that you're not saying that you are against transgenders.
Right. I just have to clear that up though, because I've been getting
surgery. You're just against taxpayers paying for it. Okay. I'm sorry.
Yes, and I just have to put that out there, because I have a lot of transgender friends. I'm an advocate of the transgender community and the transgender you know, the movement. What I'm saying is that I just don't think that right now that they should be I think there's a whole lot of research that needs to go into this before we say, okay, let's have transgenders join the military. And I think it's better for their sake as well, because, you know, war is a very, you know, stressful situation. If they're already on hormones, you know, we're already talking about PTSD, you know, we're talking about, you know, suicide rates is already very high every 22 minutes, you know, a veteran or soldier kills himself. I mean, so think about this and think about putting the added stress on being transgender serving in the military. I mean, it's so much we can go. But let's go back here. This is the U.S. military. We're not here to have safe spaces. You know, it's not college. This is the U.S. military. You know, you don't go there as social engineer. You know, it's a disciplined environment. And so if you can't be with that, then this is not someplace you need to go. So if you feel you're transgendered and you feel like you need to transition, and the military is very kind of streamlined, then the military is not someplace that you should go to have that done.
Correct.
Do you understand what I'm saying?
Go ahead. I'm sorry,
no, George. George, you go right ahead.
Okay, I have a question for you on that, because that is a consistent argument, and I don't want to say argument. It's a strongly held belief that the military is not a summer camp. True that. So now here's my question, and this is to anybody. If that's the case, then from a cultural standpoint, who should be the standard setter for what is the appropriate, proper military environment?
Danny, go ahead.
Well, someone who's intelligent, not easily distracted by, you know, like gay people, sharing bathrooms with gay people or sharing bathrooms with transgender people. Someone who's an adult. I mean, who's mature, who doesn't, you know, exactly what George said. It's not summer camp. And a lot of soldiers kind of go there and get into that summer camp mode, you know, where it's all jolly. I don't know. But go ahead.
I get what you're saying. I want to say this because I just want to make sure, because you're kind enough, to especially to give your experiences, Howard, that you adequately represent what it is that you were trying to say. You are not saying that you are against transgenders. You are not saying that you are against them having surgery. The only thing that you're saying is that you are against them serving in the military because of the medical costs. That's your primary issue. Okay. Yes.
Well, that and also not only a medical cost. Like I said, I think it comes down to military bearing. I mean, as long as they still stay within that, the military regulation. So like, I don't like. Sorry, if I'm serving with a battle buddy or a colleague, I don't want that colleague transitioning in the middle of our time together. So that's what I'm saying. I just don't want the transition portion of that.
And it's not just for medical, but it's how it relates to other members in the military that they serve alongside with too, because there are external effects that others have to deal with. Now, Danny, you feel that they should be able to serve. You feel that. Feel that to say that do you feel that surgery should be provided for also medical?
No.
So you do not feel that taxpayers should pay
for their
time, but they should be able to serve.
Correct.
Okay. All right.
So let me ask a question for you, Danny. Can I ask Danny a question? Because I'm curious about, because I know, with transgender, it comes a whole nother issue. And I think that George said on this earlier about, kind of like it's also the kind of the culture issues and, like how they like to be, you have to refer them by, the correct pronoun, and things like that. So my thing is this, I mean, knowing I know how the military is. That's not the way the military operates. You're coming in there as Bob. We're going to call you Bob. We're going to call you Private Sergeant so-and-so. You don't get to have that right to somehow switch that up in the middle of your service. And then expect for, your body, your colleagues, your platoon people to somehow get that and then respect it. And then if you're not, and then God forbid that happens, and that's there's a lawsuit. I mean, there's so many issues that kind of rise from that. And so that's what I'm saying. I think it's just better now until we have the correct data to put a halt on this, until we actually know the implications of having transgender serve openly in the military. I don't think we're asking for too much.
We're not going to get that data now if we're going to ban them.
Well, I mean, they're not banned yet. I mean, there's a whole nother. I think what's going to end up happening is this may go to the Supreme Court. They're going to say it's probably discriminatory. And what's going to happen is that we as the military is going to, that we're going to implement some really hard regulations to say that, you can't have surgery, you can't change your name, you can't change your hair color, you can't grow breasts, you can't. It's going to be all these different regulations which will essentially stop the transgender.
Breast? Is that what you said?
When you take hormones, you start growing breasts.
And I hear what you're saying. So I wanted to get, all of your points of view. George, our resident therapist, he kind of helps us tie it together, to make sure that we actually know why we are articulating why we do, and to kind of, help us figure that out. I'm saying that from a conservative point of view, Donald Trump is saying it's the cost, but let's just be honest, the cost is it don't cost a lot, okay? It's negligible. However, what you're saying is, beside the point of cost, there's a lot of other medical needs and issues that go along with that, psychological, physical.
So let me can I just spell this out for you right quick, just really fast, right quick, because I know we probably got to wrap up. But let's just say this, because we're talking about the medical aspect of it, but that's in itself a lot of money compared to other service members. That in itself, just to have surgery. But you have to understand, to transition, You have to go to surgery and you have to go see a therapist for an entire year. So essentially, this is why you're transitioning. I'm sorry, even before you transition. So you have that's taking you off the battle line, because there's not going to be therapists at the front, on a battle line, telling you, okay, kind of walking you through the process of you transitioning. So that's one thing. There's hormone replacement. There's psychiatric care during the transition. I mean, it's so much more on top of just the surgery. And then when they do have surgery, that takes them out of rotation for at least a year, because there's risk of infection. So I'm talking about having these people military ready to go to battle. And if that can't happen, they should not be joining. They should not join, and they should not be in the military.
That's the most important thing, to be military ready. I got you. Okay, so quickly, Danny.
Well, first of all, in order to get your surgery, you need to have 2 licensed therapists to sign off. Two different licensed therapists. And the recovery time is negligible. I don't think it's a year. I think it's more like 2 weeks.
No,
I know a friend.
No, for them to bleed, like, because bleeding.
As far as like follow-ups, sure, about a year of follow-ups. But then again, you'd have military medical staff that would cater to that. And as far as hormones, it's basically 1 pill or 1 shot a day. It's not something that would be considered constant, other than considered daily. Mm-hmm. As far as the bathrooms are concerned, built stalls.
Mm-hmm. That's actually not correct. That's actually not correct. I think the liberals would like to say that, like, oh, they just need to pop a pill. They just need to pop a pill and all is well. That's actually not the case at all. And it's just like saying, like, it's the whole reason why people with HIV can't serve in the military, because that takes, because that ongoing cocktails that they have to take. So I liken it like that. You can't, so yeah, you may have to pop a pill, but you know what? If you're out there,
you got to keep being tested to make sure that you're regulated correctly, and there's a lot more to than just.
It's a lot more,
right? Like,
okay, right.
Reaction to the pill, or
right, to your medicine. Okay, now George, what would you want to say? Because we are going to wrap up, but I just wanted you to say something real quick.
Just wanted everybody to consider that there's a lot of valid perspectives that's been shared here on all sides. And I think, Howard, you do a great job in expressing your view. You have a unique perspective that makes you, I think, even more credible, because you really can see it from a variety of sides. However, I would really like everybody to consider, let's say we go all the way through and this ban is enforced. Can you say that it was done in a healthy, respectful way to everybody involved?
And I think we can all agree that answer would be no. And that's a good way to kind of close out. That's a good thought for us to think about, because whether you agree with having transgenders, whether you agree with paying for the surgeries or medical costs, or whether you don't, is the way this all was presented. Was it best for all that was involved? I can personally understand, why, Danny, why you feel the way you do, and most definitely why you feel the way you do, George. My concern is for the transgenders that are already there, because you can say transgenders, we are no longer accepting anymore. But what Donald Trump did, what the president did, was confusing for those who are already there, they're serving. They're putting their lives on the line for us every single day. And so for those who may disagree and may ridicule and call transgenders, all types of awful names,
that's unacceptable.
That's unacceptable. And you know what? I put it out that if I'm not saying change your mind about transgenders not serving or whatever, but while you calling them names, make sure you call them veterans. Make sure you call them Purple Hearts. Make sure you call them patriots. Make sure you call them soldiers. Make sure you call them fallen soldiers. Make sure you call them serving this country so that you have the freedom to ridicule them. And make sure you recognize, especially if you've never served or tried to serve, they are doing something that you have never even tried to do. And so in many ways, they're much more of a hero than we are. And see, when we disagree with people, we tend to only ridicule them and not see exactly, these people are serving our country. These people are, while you may be mad that they're having the surgery and may not like them being transgender, whatever, but they're also risking their lives. And I think that's something for us to, to consider. And I hope that the president and the Joint Chief of Staffs and Secretary and Defense, that everybody, that they get this together. I think it was unfortunate. See, you know something? You should never, in my opinion, make a decision based on emotion.
Yeah.
Never make a decision based on emotion. You need to sit back. You need to assess the situation, because if you wait another day, another week, it's not going to hurt anyone. However, if you make a rash decision the way he did, it really does, hurt people. And these are people who are out on the lines, on the front lines, and they hear this. And so while they're trying to protect our lives and save theirs, they're wondering, am I going to be uprooted? So that's something that we should, talk about. But I'm glad that you all were, that you were here. Let me just give a plug real quick. Okay. So George has a book. The book is called Black, and it's in the background. You can get it at Amazon.com. And Black does what? What does Black do? It's not a race.
Black is the acronym for Beliefs Limiting Authentic Cultural Knowledge.
Okay.
And really, it's about labels and how we perceive labels internally and how we perceive others as labels. So it can be Black, it can be white, it can be gay, it can be all that. And we really need to be aware of how subliminally powerful labels are. And if we're not consciously aware, we're ending up doing harm to ourselves and those that we're attempting to serve.
Okay, good. And Howard has his own, was it communications production company? What do you do? What do you do?
Sure. So we do public relations, we do talent management, and we do business consulting. It's called Lamort Media and Production Agency, LMPA. And if you guys go to my Facebook page, Howard Nelson Cromwell has all of my different projects and all of those things. So. Okay.
And Danny, you just tell me what you do. And if you don't want to discuss what you do, you know what? You're in our closed Facebook group, Black Conservatives for Truth. You are our resident liberal. And you I just say
we need those. We need you guys sometimes.
I love it.
Yeah, I'm cool.
Yeah, you're the resident liberal. And then before I sign off, I do want to say I was just joking, because I know you're gonna have all these haters upset with me because I said that people change their gender based upon the day and the time to go use that. That was just a joke. Although I am personally concerned about that, but that was
crucify you.
They gonna vilify me, so y'all don't be calling me. But anyway, thanks so much for joining, and we'll see you next time.
Bye.
Thank you.
Okay, bye.